In this video, I'm going to demonstrate the creation of a parametric table in Autodesk Revit. To start with, I'm going to create a new family based on the furniture template. So I'll select File, then New Family, then English Imperial, then the furniture template. I'll begin by setting up some reference planes that I can lock the geometry to. I'll start with the reference plane tool, set an offset of 2 feet, use the Pick Lines tool, then offset the reference planes each direction 2 feet. Then I'll add in some aligned dimensions here. I'll make this first set equal. Then I'll add a 4-foot dimension to the outside. Once again, same thing with these vertical ones. I'll set these equal, and then a 4-foot dimension. Next, I'm going to create some parameters to use. So here in the Properties panel, I'm going to select Family Types. Then at the bottom of this dialog box, I'm going to select New Parameter. I'm going to give this first one the name of Width. It is going to be a type, common, length, dimensions. So I'm going to accept all the defaults here. Then click OK. I'll go ahead and adjust its value to 4 feet. Then I will also make a depth parameter as well. So new depth, I'll accept these defaults and once again set this one to 4 feet. I'll go ahead and click OK. And now I will apply those parameters to these dimensions. So I'll select the 4-foot dimension on top, then use the drop down up top here to select width. Then I will do the same thing with the depth dimension. I'll select the dimension, select the drop down, then choose depth. I'm going to flex my family to make sure it works the way I expect. I'll open up my Family Types dialog, adjust the width values to 5 feet, and apply. And as you can see, it continues to stay centered around the original reference planes. So I'll set these back to 4 feet and click OK. Next, I'm going to switch to the front elevation, and I'm going to create a reference plane here as well. So I'll go to Create, Reference Plane. This time I'll just simply draw one from left to right, any height up. I'm going to select the newly created reference plane, and in the properties, I'm going to name this Tabletop. Naming the reference plane will make it easier to use as a reference later. Next, I'll create a height parameter. So I'll open the Family Types dialog box once again, select New Parameter, and I will name this one Height. I'll adjust its value to 2'6", then OK. Then I'll go ahead and apply an aligned dimension between the reference level and the reference plane I created. I'll escape out of the Dimension tool, select the dimension, and then apply the height parameter to it. So we'll actually see it change to 2'6". Next, I'm going to model the tabletop. The tabletop will be on this tabletop plane, and it will come down 1 inch from there. So I'll switch to my reference level view. I'll go to the Create tab. Before creating my extrusion though, I want to set my work plane. So here in the work plane panel, I'll select Set. Then I will choose the tabletop reference plane I created earlier. Then I'll click OK. Then I will choose my extrusion tool. I'll use my Pick Lines tool and the Lock option. And I'll go ahead and select the 4 outer lines here. I'll use my Trim command to trim those into a square shape. And I will adjust my extrusion end value to -1 inch. So it comes down 1 inch from that tabletop. I'll go ahead and click Finish. And I can switch to my front and see the tabletop. Next, I'm going to create a reference plane and use a parameter to control the thickness of the tabletop. I'll select the reference plane tool. I'll select the Pick Lines option, and I will set my offset value to 1 inch. Then I will select below the existing tabletop plane. Next, I will create a parameter. So I'll get back into my Family Types dialog box, select New Parameter, called Thickness, and I'll accept the rest of the defaults here. I'll adjust its value in here to 1 inch, then apply an aligned dimension between the two, select that dimension, and apply the thickness parameter to it. Now, while it looks like I'm done, I actually don't have any sort of relationship with the top and bottom of the box and the planes. So I need to actually use my Align tool to align the plane and the box top and lock it, and the bottom plane and the box bottom and lock it. I'll test this real quick. I'll put in a different height and apply that. We should see it go up. I'll put in a different thickness, and we should see that change as well. I'll go ahead and set these back to their original values and click OK. Next, I'm going to create the table legs. I'll return to the reference level, and I'm going to create some additional reference planes to locate the legs. So I'll select Reference Plane. I'll use my Pick Line tool. I'm going to offset this 6 inches. Then I'll offset these each to the inside. Now, if I had the need to change the location of these table legs, I could put in some parameters to control their locations. Instead, we're just going to make sure that they always stay 6 inches away from the edge of the table. So I'm going to create some dimensions between these reference planes, and then I will lock them. Remember, we always want to dimension the planes, not the geometry. I'll test this real quick and adjust my width and depth values. And we can see that they continue to be 6 inches away from the edge of the table. Next, I'm going to create a blend to create one of the legs here. I'm going to make sure my reference plane is set to the reference level. So on the Create tab, I'll go to Set Work Plane, then Reference Level, and OK. I'm going to create a couple of parameters to drive the table leg size. So I'll open up Family Types, create a new parameter. I'm going to call this one Table Leg Bottom, and I'll set this to 1 inch. And then I'll create another new one, Table Leg Top. And I'm going to make this a formula. It's going to be equal to the table leg bottom times 2. So it will always be twice the size. I'll go ahead and click OK. Now I'm ready to create my blend. So here on the Create tab, I'll select Blend. I'm currently working on the base. You can see that here on the tab, Create Blend Base Boundary. I'll select my Circle tool. I'll snap to the center of 2 of these reference planes, and I'll draw a circle with a radius of 1 inch here. Then I will go ahead and escape out of the Circle tool, select the circle, and pick the Dimension button right here to make this a permanent dimension. Then I'll click away from it. Then I'll select this 1 inch dimension and apply the table leg bottom parameter to it. Next, I want to edit the top of the blend. So here in the ribbon, I'm going to select Edit Top. Then once more, I'll draw a circle at the center of the existing one or the intersection of the planes. Either one will work. I'll make it 2 inches in radius. And once again, I'll escape, select the arc, and then select the Dimension tool to make it a permanent dimension. Select the dimension and apply the table leg top parameter to it. Then I can finish. I'm going to switch to the front view, and as you can see, the table leg did not go all the way up to the table. So I am going to align the bottom reference plane here with the top of the table leg, and then I'll lock those together. Next, I'm going to copy that leg to the other 3 locations. So I'll return back to the reference level. I'll select the leg, then copy, then use the multiple option. I'll select the intersection of the 2 planes here, then the intersection of the planes at the other locations. Then I'll escape. I'm going to flex the family to make sure that the legs move as they are supposed to. So I'll open up my family types and adjust the depth and width values. Apply it, and as you can see, the table legs move along with the table. Now I want to switch to the front view and flex the height and make sure these legs work correctly. So I will go into my family types. I'll set in a height of 3 feet and click OK. And as you can see, the one table leg updated, the other ones did not. So I'm actually going to go ahead and select each of these legs, and I can use the grips to bring them up to the table bottom and lock them. Or I can use the Align tool. Either one will work just fine. I also need to lock the bottoms of the legs as well to the reference level. So I'll drag each of these up and realign them and lock them. That way we know for sure that it's going to respond the way that we want when we change any parameter values. So I'll set this back to 2'6", and all the legs should move appropriately. Next, I'm going to add a rounded edge to the table. I'm going to do this by creating a void sweep. I'm going to switch back to the reference level. I'm going to go to the Create tab and set my work plane to the tabletop. Then click OK. Next, I'm going to select the drop-down under Void Forms and choose Void Sweep. I'm going to start by creating the path. So I'll select Sketch Path, then I will use the Pick Lines option, and I'll choose the Lock option. I'll start by selecting the left side line here. The first line you click on is going to determine the origin of the sketch plane to create the profile to be swept. So I'll go ahead and select the 4 outside lines here. Then I can select Finish. Then, if necessary, I'll switch back to the Modify Sweep tab. And then I want to edit my profile. So I'll select Edit Profile. I'm going to move to the front elevation here. And now I can create my profile shape here. So I'm going to create this vertical 1-inch line, a horizontal 1-inch line, and then I'm going to use the 3-point arc tool to create a tangent arc. So that is going to be the shape that is swept, causing a void. I'll finish this profile. Then on the Modify Sweep tab, I'll finish the sweep. If I click away from it, it should appear as the corner has been rounded now. I'll switch back to my 3D view, and I'll switch to a shaded mode, and we can now see the rounded corners. Next, I'm going to add some material parameters to control the way the table looks. I'll start by selecting the tabletop. You want to make sure you select the actual tabletop extrusion, not the void sweep. Then I will select the Associate Parameter button next to the material. I'm going to create a new parameter here, and I will call it Tabletop Material. I'm going to set this to instance so that each instance of the table can have different material. Then I will click OK. Then I'll click OK again. Next, I'll select the 4 table legs. And I will similarly choose to associate a family parameter with the material. I'll create a new one, and we'll call this one table leg material. And then once more, we'll set this to instance. Then OK. Then OK again. I've created the parameters, but I want to go ahead and set some material to start with. So I'm going to get into my family types dialog box. Then next to table leg material, I'll select the material value here. And then I'm going to apply a wood material. So I'll expand the home and the AEC materials. I'll select wood, and then I'll copy ash over. Then click OK. Then I'll do the same thing with the tabletop material. Ash has already been loaded, so I can just select it here in the list and click OK. OK again. And for ash, the material is still showing gray. So I'm going to go back into the materials here. And in the materials dialog box, I'm going to tell it to use render appearance for ash. That way in the shaded mode, it'll actually look like that material. Regardless, if I switch to realistic, it'll show me the wood material there. Finally, I'm going to create some family types with different sizes. So I'll select my family types dialog box here. I currently have a 4-foot by 4-foot by 2'6" table. So I'm going to select new type, and I'm going to name it just that, 4-foot by 4-foot by 2'6". And then I'll click OK. I want to create another table that's 5 by 5 by 3. So I'll select a new type. We'll name this one 5-foot by 5-foot by 3-foot. I'll click OK and then adjust the values accordingly. I'll go ahead and make one more. This time it's going to be 6-foot by 3-foot by 2-foot. So the depth will be 6, the height 2, and the width 3. And then I'll go ahead and click OK. Now I have 3 different sizes I can use. So next I'm going to place this into a project. So I'll go ahead and save it. And I'll just simply call this one table for now. I'll create a new blank project. I'm going to use the Imperial Construction template, and I'll click OK. Then I'll go ahead and load this component. Since I still have it open, I'll just switch back to the table and load into project and load it into my new blank project here. And then I can place multiple copies. I'll switch to the 3D view here, and I'll set this to realistic. I can select each table, and I've got my 3 different table types. So I can select the different sizes. I can also select each one and select a different material for the legs and or the top. Again, each one can be different because they were set to instance parameters. That concludes this look at creating a parametric table family in Autodesk Revit.